Hi everyone, I'm Katie, this is David. We're here at Basilica Soundscape with Melissa and Brandon, who helped put the whole thing on, or actually did put the whole thing on.
We're both helping and putting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you on the list?
Yeah.
We can help put you on the list, yes.
So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about like putting the lineup together for this year?
Sure. I feel like we always start with a Google document of some sort.
Yes.
And
very,
then,
very advanced technology.
Then we graduate from one Google document to another. And somehow the title of the Google document is always confusing to me, so I have to search for a few, and then I've discovered through that we have like tons of them from over the years.
Yeah, which probably have some good ideas that we could have booked this year, actually.
Exactly,
but instead we start over every
single year. And then go back, and then we just sort of, I think we start piecing things together and seeing like if there's a balance between different kinds of music and different kinds of loudness and quietness and instrumentation, like guitars and drums versus electronics and noise.
And like anchors of emerging or established, and the multi-generational thing important, like having, and then where do you start like locking anchors, and then filling in is the fun stuff, like the whole.
Yeah, making it all locked together.
Yeah, that's the easy. The kind of hard one is like fixing those themes and the anchors, and then once we get the themes and anchors, we go.
I think the first thing we had this year was Low.
Yeah.
Which the first band we booked, and that was from last year, right immediately after, with the last Low record, thinking, wow, this would sound really cool in this space. So we booked Low, and we kind of built it around that.
Which is usually the thing, which is what would sound cool in this space. And since next year Basilica Hudson turns 10, and this is our 8th year working together on Soundscape, and or 9th year, whatever it is, it's long and wonderful. and how I've always described when we fell in love with the space and imagined music here was what would enhance the space and what would the space enhance. So it's like that whole, for those who have not been in the space, it's a beautiful reclaimed 1880s factory, and there's all these cool nooks. So it's like the small theater, which is the North Hall, the main hall is the big one, there's the West Wing, there's a little rafter nook, there's just like, and then there's the grounds, and there's a full moon, and there's outside, and there's like crumbling brick, and there's the back gallery. So it's just like, you imagine all these corners and all of these textures and people flowing in and out of the building, going into a tight thing, going into the big thing. But it's a lot about the space.
I find it really interesting through the interviews today, just finding about a lot of the artists' personal connections to you. Obviously, Lo is someone who wasn't necessarily, they were, but large majority of these folks have either worked with you or friends, or they feel a deep connection. They want to be here. I mean, Big Brave were clearly very emotional about playing here, and like the idea that it was a special thing, and it's that sense of community and sort of collaboration that makes it feel so special and alive, I think.
And they played with Jessica Moss tonight too, which again has that kind of feel of collaboration.
When they arrived tonight, they said, if you see her, ask her to ask her, she'll play with us. So I'm like, for real? This is not playing.
And that's the other than community, but because I'm from Montreal and I fell in love with the New Yorker, and the compromise was, well, if we live in New York but closer to Montreal, and a lot of the giving birth to Basilica and then Soundscape being the music central component to it is trying to bring the community that I grew up with in Montreal, and then Brandon has his whole version, and as do you of like, where is that first community where you discovered music, you believed that you would keep that bond forever, and you would find each other no matter what happened in every show, in every room. So both Brandon and I and Tony, my husband, there's the need to recreate that over and over, to sustain that, and then to touch that in each person that has that in them, like you guys. So you've got your community, we've got our community. Brandon's like pulled every favor from every friend. I have too. We've called every visual artist and musician we know, and that's how we built it. And then it's all built on basically volunteer generosity to keep the community going. Like, how do we just which is what we all do in and around music, and creating events around music. But yeah, the Montreal connection is pretty heavy, and I will have to take this moment to talk about this year and all the heavy guitars that are all women from Canada.
Yeah.
And I am just so proud.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I cried during Bad Waitress. Like I'm
Waitress was so
I'm so proud.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
women.
about Dilly Dally,
Yeah.
and I actually didn't know what to expect. It was one of the bands
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yep, I just listen. I mean, Brandon will know I'm kind of the broken record of a few things, but one of them is where are the guitars?
Yeah.
Where are the guitars? I mean, not that Brandon isn't, but he also has introduced me to a lot of Hacks and Cloak, and like other amazing textural, visceral, crazy things. But last year I did say Brandon, I'm gonna cry next year if we don't have more guitars, and I'm gonna dig up every new possible, and it's all Canadians and women.
There's been also I realized today there's been a lot of amazing vocalists this year, between Haley doing Circuit as You set where she was playing a 12-string guitar, and
thank you,
and
she was incredible,
and Em Lamar, and there's been amazing vocals throughout. Where Cloud Rat today is a different kind of vocalist, but it's an amazing vocalist. But there's also, I think, one thing that's interesting is things that will connect.
Yeah.
What you see them on paper, and then when they're in reality, it's even connects more than you thought. This morning,
cool.
the jazz into Cloud Rat, I was like, this is amazing, and I kind of thought that would happen, but to see it happen, it's very satisfying.
And that's definitely where we've always been on the same page of the genre and generational bending. Of you want to put the weird thing next to the weird thing. We definitely don't want a current band next to a current band and a guitar band next to a guitar band. And then the whole writers thing and the poet trolley and the writers in the rafters and Brandon being a writer, but also that moment where you take the music out and you just think about your brain that is what's so cool about music is not about words really. I mean, some people, Bob Dylan's into lyrics, but as far as music, it really is the power of the music and then the word. And when you take the music away and then you have these quiet moments with writers reading the
and the audience is super respectful.
Yeah, and putting writers next to music. That's an example of just as soon as we locked that in that first year that we did it, we got to do this every year. We just got to put silence, music, silence. So that's an example of jazz to noise. It's writers to rock. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to Chelsea Hodson, who read yesterday before she read, and I was saying, don't worry, we've had writers before, and people will listen and be quiet, and they did listen. They were quiet. I think, and this year we have this poet trolley for the first time that Jen Pelly curated, and it's gotten increasingly more popular as the weekend's gone on, and so now there's no space in the trolley anymore. And right before I came in here, I was
talking. You're gonna have to expand into the green trailer.
But I was talking to my friend Lindsay, and she's like, "Yeah, maybe you should get a speaker outside the trolley that people could sit outside and
smart.
listen."
But that's so silly that we didn't.
Yeah, so it was well, next year. I was like, "This is." We just figured the trolley was was a new development.
We actually literally just pulled it over yesterday morning, so we used a lot to develop.
So now we know that worked, and that's cool. But I think that's been interesting too. Is just how all these different people helping out, and so it's a community making it. But it also, if that's always the interesting to me, the important thing is to have a space that feels like people are respectful. And someone tweeted this thing yesterday, or I saw it this morning, but they tweeted it last night. Basilica was my favorite festival I've ever been to. I felt it's the safest I've ever felt. It's the nicest people. It's respectful space. And to me, someone I don't know to say that, this is great. That someone came to this and they felt that. But also, during the Johan Johansson piece yesterday, in those moments of silence, it was actually
so
silent.
Respectful.
Yeah, people were just quiet.
And that was at that point I was talking to, I'm I am so proud of the people that I don't know that came here. This is how nice everybody. So polite and so just mindful, and there's none of this mindless distracted. It's not happening here.
Yeah. People are being very chill and just into the zone. I think part of it is you come to this, you kind of know what to expect at this point in some regard, I guess. Yeah. And the crowd responds in a way that's people aren't just standing in front and taking selfies or whatever. They're really just listening to it and being involved
and discovering, which I every single year I never know. I mean, a lot of what we book is really new stuff, and I've never seen them play. I only saw one thing, and so we are discovering every step of the way. And I feel what's great about the audience is that everybody's. They're not coming to see something they know, actually. They're coming to see something they don't know. Yeah. They want to know the unknown and want to discover. And it's definitely a curious, and that's that generosity of spirit that it's been built on. Oh, I wrote that little thing of, it's our 9th year, 8th year, and I want to thank the artists who have gone out of their way, off the beaten path. Probably some of them, we try to avoid agents, but when we have to deal with agents, we have to have the artists tell the agents that they're actually going to take the lower pay to do the special thing that doesn't have the corporate sponsor and doesn't.
Right.
And the generosity of the artist, and obviously our volunteer time, you just feel it, and the audience somehow feels it, and that is a study of, if you're really nice and polite and generous, perhaps this person will be too.
Yeah, like when Swans played, they actually stopped, and Michael at the time was living upstate, and he's like, I see this is like a neighborhood show, and they just picked up their own backline and brought it, and paid for their own stuff.
Unbelievable.
And carried, like they got it, and they brought it, someone brought it back to New York or whatever. Thor and Swans was like, I want to come next year and like just hang out, and that's always been sweet too. Like when Juliana Barwick played, she came back like 3 years after that, and Greg Fox was here all day, and we were having a joke where I was like, next year you should just like play in every single band, because he was like, he lent his drums to someone today, he's like doing this, and that kind of thing where it feels very much like that.
We talked to him about that, and we mentioned it to Kristen, and she's like, I want him on my next record. She's going to be on my next record.
Well, there's definitely a bunch of records being planned in there right now.
Right.
Like it's just, you find your like-minded people, and everyone is so inspired to be in the place at the same time. We're always, there in the world, but then at these special shows, and shows are not really what they used to be in many ways, and that if you live in a big, either if you live in a small place, you don't have a bunch of shows. If you live in a big place, then you're a ticket master, slave or whatever. It's like, how do you actually go to shows?
Right.
I don't know what I would do if I was like a 16-year-old trying to like discover music. And then I discover that actually teenagers don't actually go to see shows, right? This is like a thing, like YouTube or whatever it is. I don't.
When we were talking to Brooks, he mentioned that he covered Soundscape when he was 12. And he had a blog, and he wrote about Perfect Pussy, and I think so. But he's a really bright kid. I mean, and he's not very old now, obviously, since it was only. But and he talked about how having this safe space and being able to explore and see these artists work together really meant something to him.
Discover live music and weirdness and like not perfection. Like the lights aren't perfect, the sound's not perfect, the performer's not perfect. It's nothing is perfect, and like you have to to feel comfortable with your own imperfections, you have to like witness that on a stage. You can. That's what punk, metal, every possible thing is about, trusting your own experimentation and accidents, and that's what culture is not really, other than I guess YouTube. How do you see it on a stage celebrated without there being a corporate overlay
or like an editing of it?
Right, or editing. Thank you. Yes, live performance.
This guy Walter, who's here, who runs the festival Roadburn, he came all the way from the Netherlands.
Oh, Walter's here?
Yeah, Walter's here. Yeah, and he flew in to come to this, and he was talking to me earlier, and he's like, you guys really respect the building. And he's like, the stage feels like a detail in the building, like it's not overwhelming the building. And he's like, the lights that are detailed on the side, they're like detailing the architecture of the building. And he liked how we made the festival fits inside the building, but it doesn't overwhelm the building, and it like uses the space in a respectful way.
And not,
he's a very, very sweet guy. He's been going to Willow's every morning, this like new bakery in town.
I've never been to it.
I haven't made
it up the block yet.
This feels very community too, where I was walking down the street, and then I ran into Dan from Bunny Brains, and he was like, "Oh, you have to go to this new restaurant." So then suddenly I'm having like a 2.5 hour breakfast with him, and he's going deep on astrology, and I was like, "I don't know anything about astrology, man." We talked for 2.5 hours about astrology, but then and we saw Walter there at the Willows.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a very happy, friendly place, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Very loud, very heavy. It's heaven, and definitely like some weird state motto, the way life should be.
Right.
I mean, it should just, at least it should always have this as an option. And thank you. You guys have been so great to cover these things. And we need documentation. We need like support. We need to be able to tell the story to those who are not here, because those who are not here don't know to come yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.